Professor Tsoukalis, thank you so much for a very engaging presentation. How is it that a financial crisis that began in the US turned into a question of Europe's very survival?
Well, it's interesting that we start with the bursting of a bubble. It's the biggest bubble since 1929. It is essentially US-born, although it extends to the whole of the Western financial system. And then it becomes an existential crisis of the Eurozone. And the explanation is very simple. It has to do with the fact that the Europeans have created a currency without having the institutions and the instruments to make it viable. So when the crisis struck, they were unable, they were unprepared to deal with it. And also because in Europe, the crisis revealed all kinds of national failures, basically countries that had been living long time on borrowed time and money, and when the crisis struck, time and money disappeared.
When so many are questioning the idea of Europe, where will an impulse for reintegration come?
Well, we have reached a situation in which support for European integration is at an all-time low. There is unhappiness. There is unhappiness for different reasons in different countries. But interestingly enough, there is still high levels of support for the euro. And the explanation for this apparent contradiction is that people are unhappy because Europe and their political systems in many countries are not seen as delivering the goods. But at the same time, they want to keep the euro because they are terrified of the consequences of leaving it. So it is to a large extent fear that keeps the euro together rather than love. You may say that fear can be a very powerful factor for keeping people together, but it's dangerous if you rely just on fear for long.
Finally, you mentioned a grand bargain. In the broadest strokes, what might that look like?
Well, I believe we need a grand bargain in Europe to relaunch the process of integration, but also to keep us on track for more growth and also for a stronger European role in world affairs. We need a grand bargain because the fundamentals on which the European, I call contract, bargain, whatever you like to call it, of the past have changed. So we need to redefine and readjust our contract between ourselves, between our countries and also within our countries, in order to make European integration viable in the near future. And I strongly believe that the kind of muddling through that we have had in recent years, which has been good enough to keep us at least together, is not good enough to keep us happy and together in the future. So before it's too late, I hope that our political leaders realize that initiatives have to come for a redefining of the European contract.